Hi, my name is Lydia Rose, and I'm going to be discussing the West Mesa murders. So, you may ask yourself, what are the West Mesa murders? The West Mesa murders is a cold case that still remains unsolved today. It happened in the West Mesa Desert in Albuquerque, New Mexico. 11 women were found dead, including a woman who was 4 months pregnant. These women were found in 2009 and had been reported as missing persons between 2003 to 2004. And as mentioned, it still remains unsolved today. So, as shown in the photo, they were found in the West Mesa burial site. The remains were first discovered in February of 2009 by an individual walking their dog around the area. She found a bone that looked like a human femur and texted a picture of the bone to her sister, who was a registered nurse. Her sister said that the bone looked like it was a human femur and that she should contact the police immediately. The dog walker did immediately contact the police, which led to the opening of the case and the recovery of the skeletal remains of those 11 women. So, where does forensic anthropology fit into all of this? Not only was this investigated by police and medical examiners, but also this case included forensic anthropologists. One of the main forensic anthropologists on the case was Dr. Heather Edgar. Dr. Edgar was an associate professor and forensic anthropologist at the University of New Mexico Health Sciences Center Office of the Medical Examiner. She played a large part in the identification process of the victims of these murders. With DNA samples from the skeletal remains, they were able to identify the remains that they had. There are some remains that are still unfound, which led to the name of the serial killer suspected for this case being called the Bone Collector. So, how can forensic anthropology help to solve this case today? Some of the things that it can do is using dental records of the teeth that they may have found with the victims and compare those to help identify the victims. One of the main roles of forensic anthropologists is identifying the victims. So, a big role that they can play in this case today is continuing to identify victims of the bone collector. Similarly to how they identified the victims at the time in 2009, they could use the DNA from the bones and use it to find the matching sequence of DNA with other victims. One of the other important things that forensic anthropologists contribute is estimating the time of death. This is very important in the cases because they can help to find what people were reported as missing persons between the times that the person may have passed away. They would also be able to figure out the range that they would have been killed in and give a better lead to law enforcement and help them to figure out who it could have been and give them a way to narrow the victims list down. Overall, this case was super interesting to study, and it was very helpful to learn more about forensic anthropologists and their role in real cases. Even with the case still remaining cold today, I believe with the technology that we have developed, it will soon be able to be a case that we can reopen in the future and figure out more about. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation.